Hi, I'm Jeff Cogswell, and today I want to talk to you about how mutexes work in parallel programming. When you write code such as a for loop and you want that code to run as a multi-core parallel loop, it's important that each iteration of the loop does not depend on any other iterations of the loop. The reason is that tools such as Silk Plus do not guarantee the actual order that the iterations will run in, nor do they guarantee which iterations will run on which cores. That means each iteration must be independent. But there are times when you need to synchronize your code, waiting for certain threads to finish before another one can begin. Ideally, with optimal parallel programming, we don't want to have our threads all freeze up and wait for another thread, because that takes away the benefits of parallel programming, especially if all the threads are waiting on a single thread to finish. But if you do need to synchronize your code, there are tools available. Threading building blocks includes a set of Mutex templates that can help. The idea behind a mutex is it's an object that a thread can gain ownership of, and if other threads need ownership of it, they can try to get the mutex, but they won't be able to continue running until the thread holding it releases it. Then another thread will get hold of it and run, while other threads needing it will have to wait. Think of a file operation. Suppose you have a program where different threads need to write text to a file. These threads might be doing a great deal of computational work, and you've divided them up to run on different cores in parallel. Occasionally, a thread might need to write some text to a file. At that point, you don't want other threads attempting to write to the file simultaneously. So you create what is called a mutex. Whichever thread has a mutex can do the writing to the file, while other threads needing to write will have to wait. Then, when the writing thread is finished doing the writing, it can let go of the mutex, and another thread can get a hold of the mutex and do its writing. But files bring up an interesting notion about file locking. If multiple threads need to read from a file, there's no reason they can't all do so simultaneously. But if one thread needs to write to a file, that thread should get exclusive access to the file so that other threads reading the file don't get a messed up version of the file midway between the start of the write operation and the end of the write operation. This is called a reader-writer mutex. The idea is that if a thread needs to do a write operation, it gets exclusive use of the file. Any other threads, whether trying to read or write, will have to wait until the writing thread is finished. But if no threads are trying to write, multiple threads can do a read operation simultaneously without having to wait for each other. Now, while those readings are happening, if a thread needs to write, it will have to wait until those read operations are complete, and then it will gain exclusive control of the file. Also, these mutexes use what's called a scoped locking pattern. The idea here is to help simplify your coding of these mutexes by releasing the mutex automatically if the mutex goes out of scope. And by that I mean, if you're using the mutex in a function and your function ends, the mutex will automatically be released. This can help prevent situations where a mutex never gets released and the whole program freezes up while other threads are waiting to use the mutex. Exceptions work well here too. If you have a function that takes ownership of a mutex and an exception gets thrown, the mutex will also be released automatically. And again, this will benefit the entire program because the other threads waiting can then attempt to access the mutex. If you want to learn more about this, I recommend downloading this PDF file I'm showing you right now. To find it, head over to threadingbuildingblocks.org, click the Learn menu, and then Documentation. That'll take you to this page. And the one I'm showing you is Reference Manual. But I also recommend taking a look at User Guide, which shows some introductory material, and then Design Patterns, which has a lot of really good examples. Also, be sure to check out our articles at goparallel.sourceforge.net.